Here we are in Israel, standing in a small park situated just off the modern highway that connects Tel Aviv on the Mediterranean to Jerusalem in the hill country. The little path on which we are walking holds the key to the 1948 War of Independence. Join us as we tell this story on Root Source Tours. If you've ever been to Israel, you have certainly traveled on the main Highway 1 that connects Tel Aviv, the airport, and Jerusalem. We are standing just a few hundred meters from that major highway on a small path that holds the key to the War of Independence precisely because it is not visible from that highway. This path marks the location of the Burma Road. And without the Burma Road, the entirety of Jerusalem would have been left outside of the borders of Israel in 1948. Here was the situation. After declaring its independence in Tel Aviv on May 14, 1948, Israel's first thought was mere survival. But after the miraculous events that frustrated the Arab attempts to overrun the newfound state and crush the fledgling Jewish army, the Haganah, Israel began to turn its attention to the crisis in Jerusalem. The supply lines from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem had already been cut off in early 1948, months before the Declaration of Independence. By the time the full-scale war started, the situation was desperate. The Arabs attacked, and the Jews were driven outside of the walls of the old city, but not outside of Jerusalem altogether. Israel responded by trying to retake the road to Jerusalem to bring desperately needed supplies to the Jerusalem Jews. But the Arab League stood in the way. They had put their best forces at the strategic location of Latrun. Latrun guards the entrance to the canyon in which the main road had always run, even back to ancient times. Latrun was on a hill overlooking the surrounding countryside in all directions, and there were very few protecting trees to provide cover for advancing forces. The only way to take the fort was out in the open. The Haganah attacked and failed. They attacked again and failed. 5 times they attacked from various angles and strategies, but without matching weapons and firepower and mounting casualties, there was no way to overrun the walls of the fort and capture it. Time was running out, and the situation in Jerusalem was desperate. A ceasefire could be called soon, and the forces in Jerusalem would be trapped. Without supply lines to Jerusalem in place at the time of a ceasefire, international law would never allow the city to be considered a part of Israel. "We must think out of the box. We need to be creative," said Shlomo Shamir, the front commander. He and 2 other men, Officer Amos Sharev and Gabriel Rappaport, set out at night in a jeep to follow up a footpath used by shepherds. The path was easy at first, but got so steep that they had to get out and push their own jeep up the hillside. What they didn't know was that another officer, Eliyahu Selah, and a companion were driving from Jerusalem on the exact same hillside with the very same idea. Their 2 jeeps met in the middle of the night on the steep sides of a valley in Israel, a valley that would hatch the idea for a road that became known in Israel as the Burma Road, as a reference to the famous jungle road that was built to connect Burma to China. So now, Let's go take a look at the path of this road for ourselves. Now, the western part of this valley is very flat, very easy to navigate. It would be very easy to get a road built here. And this is where the Burma Road began. Half the length of the Burma Road was in this part of the valley. Now we turned around and are facing up the valley. If we go up a kilometer or so, we get to the starting point in this video, which is where the shape of the valley first becomes quite noticeable. As we pass a couple of the locals, I see off in the distance shepherds bringing their flock down from the canyon. When I filmed this, I hadn't realized the significance of this aspect of the story, that the shepherds are bringing a flock down this very canyon. The Burma Road started as a shepherd's trail. They're Arab Israelis. I decided not to point my camera at them since I don't know if they would appreciate it or not. Shalom. Salam. Here's some of the stragglers.